I used to have this ongoing discussion with my uncle, who basically gave up on life and died of a broken heart because he couldn't trust the people around him that constantly told him that they could be trusted. He became so disenchanted with life that when he finally realized that his own people were full of shit, he sat down on the couch, started watching the Three Stooges and Laurel and Hardy every day, and slowly died. I had a hard time watching him do that. As a matter of fact, I told him what was going to happen and how I couldn't participate in it. And if he'd just get his sorry ass up off the couch, I would do anything I could for him. But he decided to go the other way. I decided that I couldn't watch him kill himself, no less participate in it by bringing him cigarettes and food that he was perfectly capable of getting out of the house and getting for himself. But he was so disenchanted with life and his own people that he just sat there and sat there and sat there until eventually his health deteriorated so much that it was fairly obvious, at least wise to me, that the end was near. Well, I didn't want him to die and never realized that there was somebody that it could at very least identify with the feelings that he had and try to express to him just one more time over the series of the last few visits that I had with him that life was worth living and that he shouldn't give up. And if he wanted to live, I'd help him in any way that I could. Unfortunately, by the time that time came, he'd already given up and he was ready to die. And that was his choice. So I just sat by, offered what support I could, and let him go. I backed off a little bit, only coming for visits, and left him to the care of his own people, who said yet again that they were going to be there for him. Yet right under his nose, slowly sucked him dry of everything he ever had, including his life. During this time, we continued to have the same argument or discussion that we usually had, and it was about automakers and his position that they knew exactly what we wanted as consumers. Otherwise, they wouldn't build cars like they do. I always took the other side because I've been doing this shit for a long time and I know better. The car manufacturers have no idea what we want and have to base their decisions off of previous models in order to hopefully make enough sales so that they can turn a profit. He never changed his position, always making the same argument again and again, even though it was fairly obvious, or should have been to what supposedly was an intelligent man, at least wise according to his words, wasn't the case. Why did I tell this story? Because there are a lot of parallels between what happened with him and what goes on today. Because had he been willing to look at the other side instead of stick to the same old argument to prove that he was right, even though logic dictated differently, and it was obvious that the car corporations and corporations throughout the world, for that fact, had changed their marketing strategy so that They were the authority on what we wanted, as opposed to real market research and realizing what the consumers actually wanted. One day soon, I'm hoping there's a collective pop where the American public in general has enough common sense to pull their heads out of their asses. And it will quite possibly be known as the pop heard around the world. Here's the reality of our situation. Unless we're willing to use a little logic and common sense and change our positions, we may just become like my uncle, disenfranchised and just sitting around waiting to die.